Now, the cross-examination of Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan by the former SARS Commissioner Tom Moyane's legal representative, Advocate Dali Mpofu, got off to a rather interesting start today. Advocate Mpofu accused Gordhan of not answering questions. The minister maintained that he believed Moyane's personal goal as the SARS Commissioner was to advance state capture. Now, for an analysis on this story, I'm joined by political analyst Levy Ndou. Good to have you with us this afternoon, Mr. Ndou. Perhaps let's talk about the elephant in the room, which is glaring to anybody who's watching the State Capture Commission unfold. There seems to be an intense level of tension between Advocate Dali Mpofu as well as Mr. Gordhan. If you could just talk us through this.
Yeah, good afternoon, Tammy. Good afternoon to the viewers at home. This is what has been expected. Remember, ever since Gordhan came into the commission some time back, there has been a desire on the part of Tom Moyane to cross-examine him on a number of other aspects. But if you look at how Gordhan started with his team, they started by putting some emphasis on what Gordhan has said the previous time he actually appeared in the commission. And what he maintains, which I see him not wanting to back down on it, is to say that Moyane has been a part or played a crucial role in ensuring that state capture activities takes place. And he actually made sure that SARS is actually used as an instrument to ensure that there are activities of state capture. And also at the same time, clearly, the relations between Tom Moyane and Gordhan, it's very clear that they were quite strained, and these people are not the best of friends at the current moment. But also, the team for Moyane is actually trying its best, and I can see from the approach by Mr. Mpofu to actually deal with some specific issues wherein some sort of misinformation was provided by Minister Gordhan. And I think that is exactly the route that Mr. Mpofu is actually going to take, so that at the end of the day, because this is his project, at the end of the day, Gordhan should be seen as a person who might have provided wrong information and whose evidence should, at the end of the day, not be accepted.
Let's talk as well about state capture. We saw Advocate Dali Mpofu there saying that state capture has become quite a common and popular term in South Africa. And the conversation then moved to the fact that it's actually not a South African construct at all, but is a global term that's used. Now, Dali Mpofu went back to say that state capture is a very serious allegation if you're going to be accusing somebody of that, because, you know, poor people suffer because of state capture. People actually die because of state capture. Talk us through the reasoning for that particular positioning.
I think Mr. Mpofu is correct to say that state capture or all other people, state capture is being interpreted differently. And I think it's also important for Dali Mpofu, as he's questioning Mr. Gordhan, he wants him to actually prove in the sense that Mr. Gordhan, when they started here, he spoke about activity and maintains those activities are the results, or those activities constitutes state capture. He speak about the low morale at the in to actually perform its own activities. And I think that is how he actually sees state capture himself. And I think for me, Mpofu is actually saying there should be context in which you provide state capture, not to be understood in a manner that we see Moyane as an agent or not as an agent of state capture. And I think that is one area that Mr. Gordhan will have to provide as much explanation as possible, to an extent that I think they're going to put him to the corner to say, if whatever happened you would not constitute state capture, then you will then be forced to actually withdraw the statements that was an agent of state capture.
Could Advocate Ndou also be trying to turn the tables around here by planting a seed when he talks about the fact that Pravin Gordhan did in fact actually meet with the Guptas? You'll remember at some point he said that one of the telltale signs that you are in one way involved with state capture is if you've had a meeting with the Guptas or if you've visited the Guptas' compound. Your thoughts on that?
Obviously. Remember, Tammy, the purpose or the reason to question or to cross-examine Gordhan is to actually identify some of the areas where there has been inaccuracies or some of the areas where there was an element of dishonesty, and actually prove Gordhan to be a person who might then be seen as unreliable or who cannot be trusted. And I think that is the direction where Mpofu. But also at the same time, Gordhan and his team, I expect them to try and whatever statements that they've actually made, so that they are not being seen to be limping after this exercise. And short as it is, I think Mr. Mpofu has all his good ammunitions in order to maximize these 2 hours and ensure that he delivers the biggest blow on Gordhan.
And how has Gordhan so far reacted? Has he been cooperative? Has he been answering the questions? Is he helping the cause of the commission?
My view is that Gordhan is aware of the intentions that Tom Moyane and his team are actually bringing. And what he always does there is to try as much as he can. And he's actually trying his best to provide the yes and answer questions, because he's also aware that they've got their own serious implications. And he is also playing an element stand by what I said in the, but in some of the questions that you're actually providing, they actually require me to provide context, and I'm actually available to do so. But at the same time, in the little moment that we have, the on the part of Tom Moyane's legal team might change in order to force or to coerce Minister Gordhan to go straight into the direction that they want, because they wouldn't love to leave this area not celebrating that they've won, and they wouldn't love to leave this area not having exposed Gordhan. So it's a very critical moment for both teams. One will have to prove that they stand by their points, and the other one will have to try his best to ensure that they actually discredit whatever information that was brought by the person in Pravin Gordhan.
I think, Ndou, you've really painted a picture as to why it is important and what the objectives are of both the teams. But perhaps let's throw the net out a bit wider. What is the true significance of this cross-examination? Why is this cross-examination and the outcomes of this cross-examination so important? What bearing does it have?
I think what I've actually realized or observed is that there seems to be an element of wanting to accept or reject the information that is coming from other people that are providing evidence. Remember, some of the information that some people are actually bringing implicates certain individuals. And those individuals who feel that they're a bit aggrieved or who actually disagree with some of the information that is actually being provided, they will then do what Moyane has actually done in order to come in and say, I've been mentioned or I'm being implicated here, and I feel the manner in which or the information provided, it's incorrect. But to come to your question, What I think it's important is to test or to make sure or to persuade Minister Gordhan to actually provide as much information as possible, especially in some of the allegations that he has actually made. If SARS is underperforming, you cannot just blankly say it is because of state capture. Maybe you should actually say it's underperforming because these are some of the elements or activities that make SARS to underperform, which are linked to state capture. When you say the morale is low at SARS, you need to provide reasons that should actually also link to the element of state capture. And I think that is what Pravin Gordhan has to do. And that is what the team from Moyane would also not want to venture into. And that is why we see Pravin Gordhan trying his best to elaborate and speak even on aspects that has not been questioned, because his is to provide as much information as possible that will convince the commission that whatever information is bringing is actually correct.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ndou. That's a political analyst there, Mr. Levy Ndou, taking us through the State Capture Commission.